Okay, hello. Welcome. My name's Tina and
My name is Tiffany.
Tiffany's a PA student I have brought with me, but we're both with ATSU University. I work in the admissions office. And Tiffany's a first-year PA student, so she's here to answer those questions for you. I was unfortunate that I don't have any other students with me. They're on spring break. Fortunately, PA already had their spring break, so that's why she's able to come today. I'm here to talk about basically all of our programs. Since you in the room are PA and medical specific, what we'll do is we'll kind of glide over all the other programs on our campus, but I do want to make you aware of what programs we do have and what schools we have. We also have another campus in Missouri, so that will be mentioned in the slideshow here. Okay. All right, so these are our schools within the university, and that covers both campuses. The first is on the Missouri campus. It is the first DO school in the actual country. Osteopathic medicine was founded by a man who was an MD at the time. Does anyone know what year that school started? Okay, we'll go over that. So osteopathic medicine is our legacy. Our entire university is based off of osteopathic medicine, and Dr. Andrew Taylor Still, who's the founding father of osteopathic medicine and who founded the Kirksville College of Osteopathic Medicine, and that was in 1882. So back then it was not called KCOM, it was called the American School of Osteopathy, and it was in a little house, probably a two-room house, back in the 1800s. The next school is on the Arizona campus, obviously. That's our DO school here in Arizona in Mesa. And then the next school is the dental school here in Arizona, same campus. And then the Missouri School of Dentistry, now on the same campus as of the DO school there. And the Arizona School of Health Sciences has 5 programs: PA, PT, OT, Audiology, and Athletic Training. And then the College of Graduate Health Studies is our online school that has various programs. Okay? And you can look those up online. Okay, this is our mission statement. ATSU University of Health Sciences serves as a learning-centered university dedicated to preparing highly competent professionals through innovative academic programs with a commitment to continue its osteopathic heritage and focus on whole person health care, scholarship, community health, interprofessional education, diversity, and underserved populations. We take every word in this statement very serious, and maybe later on Tiffany can back that up with how the curriculum's taught, how do they incorporate these types of things within her program. These are the 2 campuses. This actually jumps into medical school. This is kind of an all programs presentation. So what this covers first is our 2 osteopathic schools. So if you want to be a physician, you do need to do some soul searching and figure out, do I want to be MD or DO? So I highly suggest shadowing both MD and DO and doing some research online. What is osteopathic medicine? What are we talking about? What is that lady talking about? So these are the 2 schools that we have, and they're very different from each other. So with that said, you can just imagine the other DO schools across the country, how different they are. We're all different from each other. Every school has kind of a separate personality, and you definitely want to search and check that out before you start clicking and applying and paying money for each click on the centralized application. Oops. Okay. All right, so I'm going to jump through the Missouri Medical School. Is that okay? Okay. You can actually find, if there's any of you watching this video right now, please feel free to call admissions in Missouri if you really want to know more about the Kirksville College of Osteopathic Medicine, but I'm going to go ahead and jump through these slides. And then here's our medical school in Arizona. Since we have a visitor in the room that's interested in going to medical school, I'll talk about that a little bit. It is, and again, going back to what I said earlier about every school is a little bit different. How is SOMA, the School of Osteopathic Medicine in Arizona, different from any other medical school across the country? They have what's called a clinical presentation model. The instructors teach how the patient is going to come to you as a DO physician if you become one at our institution. So that's what that's called. You can research that online and look at that a little bit more. We teach, what that really means is we teach each symptom at a time. okay? And that's taught in the 2-year didactic, and then just like all medical schools, you have the 2-year didactic, and then the last 2 years of your 4 years is your clinical education. Another way that we're different, you're only on campus your first year, and then you leave. So your 2nd year didactic is going to be wherever you got matched for your clinical rotation site, which you're gonna know in the upfront after your interview. If you get accepted, you're gonna rank our 11 different sites, which are online. This is just for medical school, by the way. And then you're gonna rank the 11 different sites, and then you're gonna know where did you get your first choice, or did you get your second, or so on. And then you can decide if you wanna come to SOMA or not. If you wanna come and you like your rotation site that you were chosen, the best one on your list, then you can deposit your $1,000 and you have yourself in that seat, which you would leave a year at the end of your first year. So your 2nd year didactic is there, and the reason we do that is we want our students to have early exposure in the clinic. So that way, about 1 day a week, you're going to be shadowing the doctors around, okay? All right, so CHCs under distance learning sites, that means community health center. So we have 11 different possible sites that you could go to. You stay at that one that you got matched to. When you move, you stay there for 3 years. Okay.
After you set.
That 3 years when you're away, that's after your first year. But you know where you're going to be heading at the end of your first year before you even start putting a deposit and accepting our offer. That way you're happy, you know where you're going, there's no question. Whereas PA is a little different. We're going to go into that a little bit later. But I'm just covering the DO program on the Arizona campus only. We're the only DO school, from what I understand, that does it this way. Oops. This is a sample of the clinical presentation model that I mentioned earlier. For example, they teach by symptom, right? So a patient might come to you with a headache. This is how they break it down. This is how they teach that symptom when you're learning your education. A little bit more is probably explained online. I do have a sign-up sheet up front. If you put down your name and email, I will be happy to have a DO student email you and explain a little more. That can happen, no problem. Here's the rotation sites. For Arizona, there's actually 3. So if you total that up, that comes to 11. The 3 are the northern part of Arizona, in Mesa and around Phoenix, depending on what different rotation you're on, which subject, and then Tucson. That's another one. So the requirements are all online. I won't go into this too much, but if you do have questions, please ask. MCAT, GPA, that's all on our website. Here's dentistry. We won't go into that too much, but we have the 2 different dental schools, one on each campus. The good news is our new dental school on the Missouri campus is now bumping up to 63 students. It used to be 42. So if you're applying this year for dental school in Missouri, do know that they have increased their class size to 63. So that's good news. That means they're fully accredited and everything's looking really good there. I won't run into the requirements. They are online. If you do have a question as well, at the end I have my email and phone number. If you're watching this video, feel free to reach out to me. If the information online is not making any sense and you need some help, let me know. Okay, moving into the Arizona School of Health Sciences, that does have the 5 programs, PA, PT, OT, audiology, and athletic training. That's what this is going to cover. I'm going to call it ASHES. Arizona School of Health Sciences also has some online programs. Do look into that if you want to. That would be on our website. And the 5 programs I just mentioned are all the residential programs on our campus within this school. Okay? All right, going into OT, again, I won't go into that too much since I don't have any OT in the room. We do have a doctorate and a master's if you're watching this video, so please make sure you're clicked on the right link and look into that information. And again, at the end of the slideshow, this video, I do have my email. If you want to talk to a student, let me know. I'm happy to make that happen. And there's physical therapy, same thing. Okay, PA. All right, I think if you're going into PA profession, you probably already know what PAs do. I don't have to go into that too much. However, that is the website at the bottom is the Association for the Profession of PA, the PA profession. So please visit that. That's a great website for information. Also, I didn't put it on here, but the website to apply is called CASPA, C-A-S-P-A, and that's centralized application. And for all the graduate health programs, they are all centralized applications. So you do want to go on there now and look around. They have a great FAQ page. If you have any problems, let me know. For PA admissions, these are the courses that you do need at the undergraduate level. Okay, if you have A and P combined, you would need 1 and 2. Have to have both. And we highly suggest taking some more classes. Upper division sciences is always a good thing to take for actually any health program, really. No GRE required, whereas the other 2 schools in the state of Arizona, NAU and Midwestern, do require the GRE, from what I understand. So we don't require it. That could be a bonus to why you're applying, but don't let that be the only reason you're applying. It's good to know your school. Again, the personality, who are we? You know, if I'm a student at ATSU University, what kind of things are you going to incorporate in education? And those are the kind of things you want to know as to why you're going there. Just so another tip, we are a private institution, so there is no in-state, out-of-state tuition, and that is online. Okay, one big change. I should have put this in big red, yellow, orange color. The GPA is now increased to 3.0 on a minimum. That's starting with this April when CASPA opens. On April 26th, CASPA does open, but I believe in that first month that it's open, you can't submit. I think they leave it open for a month before you can submit. So I suggest during that month to fill it out, you know, slowly kind of get that filled out. Take your time, it's grueling, I'm sure. Do know CASPA will let you apply. They don't care what your GPA is, they will take your money. So that's another good thing to look at on all the different websites of the program, you know, the different schools you want to apply to, is making sure you're meeting. Some of the other schools may have jumped up their GPA, I don't know. We just moved ours up. So that's starting. And that's cumulative and science. They both have to meet 3.0. And those 2 GPAs are configured by CASPA. And there's no grade replacement on pretty much, I think, dental, med, PT, CAS, OT, all the programs. I don't think there's any grade replacement anymore. There used to be on some of them. So kind of sad. Athletic training, I'll buzz through. We do have athletic training and audiology, a 4-year doctorate. Jumping up in the air, that's not an application tip. However, before you're applying, again, I think I said this earlier, do research the different schools you want to apply to. I think it's important that you find that out before you click and pay, and then you realize that, ooh, I don't even want to go there. So make sure you're doing that. Call admissions. See if they can give you a student through email. We do that in a heartbeat. If you email me and say I want to talk to a student, I will make it happen that day, usually. Curriculum model, you know, make sure it's what you're looking for. And again, students might be able to answer that a lot better than what you read on the website. The campus locations, that might be important to you. The success rate, maybe for PA, maybe the PANCE. What's your PANCE percentage pass rate, which all of our information is online. We put everything on there. And I think if you go to that website, it's on there. It's not a secret. I think all the PA schools should, I think it's like a law. They have to have
I think it's on CASPA, yeah. They'll
Yeah,
tell you
on
their
CASPA. For example, PA, yeah. And then there's boards, of course, for medical school, which is all changing. It's going to be one, DO and MD. That's a whole other ballgame. But anyway, you know, do your research, check that out. Maybe class size is important to you. Maybe you don't want a really large class, you want a smaller class, you know, those kind of things. Look at the averages, and you always want to be at or above the averages to be a competitive applicant. So that goes to say for, you know, any of the tests, MCAT, DAT, GRE, if it's PT program, the science. Some of the programs like PT, they go off prereq GPA, not science. If you have any friends looking at that. Also too, it's important, there's 3 things often that get very confused that admissions committees of all programs look at, and that's your clinical patient care, your volunteering, giving back, you know, community service, and then your shadowing hours. So we'll go over that. Again, if I don't cover it on this video, a program that you're applying to, please feel free to reach out to me. Components of the application, again, kind of the same thing, GPA, the test score, you know, making sure you have strong letters of recommendation. You won't be seeing them, of course, but make sure you're quite certain that that person will write a really nice letter about you. You want to have extensive shadowing. I would say for PA shadowing, maybe 300 or more if you can. Shadowing different PAs in different settings. And that goes to say with OT and PT, same thing. Medical, not so much. You know, a general practitioner is probably okay, good enough. And the same with dentistry. Volunteering, though, for hours for that. Community service, 300 or more. Try to do more, over 300 if you can. Always really good to have basic community service, just helping others. The university is really big on underserved. You know, I'm sure Tiffany will talk about that soon, how that incorporates into her program and being a student. And that kind of explains why we're looking for that on your application before you even get into school. There's a reason for it. And so for dental, it's probably the only program on campus that takes it even a step further. They want to see, I think the average student has 700 community service hours. Medical, I'd say have a couple hundred. PA have a little more, 300, 400 if you can. If you're dental, try to have 700, 600. Question?
Yeah, so you're mentioning shadowing, like internship and volunteering, does it include like all of those three together or in sections?
So on the application, good question. It's, when you're logging your hours of what you're doing, make sure you kind of have 3 columns: the shadowing, the community service, and then clinical patient care. Because clinical patient care can be volunteer in any of our programs. We're not asking you to go out and get your MA license or an EMT. You can, and it's really good to do that, or be a scribe. But those are the 3 different, how you want to separate that in your mind of how you're logging that down. Highly suggest logging it down. When you started, when did you stop that activity, and how many hours did you do that activity total? That's kind of how CASPA breaks it down. PA, and then of course, actually all of them, they're all the same.
So it's in categories?
Yeah, it'll ask you, was this volunteer? What, you know, were you paid, was this a paid position, you know? So we'll kind of start nitpicking and calculating ourselves, how much clinical patient care did you have? And ATSU University is okay with patient care being volunteer. Try to get one-on-one with patients, don't sign up for the ER, you know, where you deliver food in the room and then you leave. That's not patient care, that's not kind of one-on-one. If you can, somewhere that lets you maybe do vitals, an elderly home, hospice. I'll have Tiffany give some ideas, which probably works for any program.
Yeah, because I did my phlebotomy.
Okay, that's a good one.
I was certified, and I did volunteer hours. I was
Okay.
in just doing TB tests or urine
Okay.
testing. Does that?
Yeah,
count?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I should keep that in mind.
Phlebotomy, yeah. Yeah, so I guess the question is, if you do clinical, and it's volunteer clinical, do I put it in volunteer or clinical? I mean, you are tagging it saying I volunteered, but it was clinical. I guess the question is, where are you more weak with your community service, or, I don't know, we might just count it patient care anyway. So do make sure you're getting a lot of community service hours. It doesn't have to be clinical at all, just finding underserved communities to get back and help. Veterans are underserved, women's shelters, homeless shelters, Habitat for Humanity, Big Brother, Big Sister, food pantries, things like that. Okay. So yeah, be honest, genuine when you're writing your letter. Everyone's story is a good story. It's, you know, there's no bad story. Make sure you're checking for grammar and spelling on your essay. Demonstrate your personal growth, how you got to this point, why you want to be a PA or a dentist or whatever. Red flags would be weak clinical shadowing, heavy on the research. I wouldn't say that's really a red flag. If you have research, put it on there. We're pretty much going to glide right over it. You could have 0 research and be okay with any of our programs on campus. Our job, if you're a student on our campus, is to prepare you to be the best clinician possible. If you want to go into research, that's great. We, you know, all power to you. But once you're a student on our campus, that's pretty much our job and our role. Okay. Do show motivation, your positive approach. Don't make excuses for any past errors. You do want to mention them, especially if you have a DUI or something like that. Do not leave it off, because if you're admitted, you're going to be filling out a a background check. All admitted students in any program fill out a background check after you're deposited. We give that to you later on. And you do want to pass with flying colors. If you have a DUI and you didn't mention it, you may get your acceptance pulled from you. That, it has happened. So just kind of make sure you're being honest. Okay, this is the tuition and financial aid page. I believe there's a brochure in your packet as well, just to give you the options, research, see how you want to pay for that program. There's a lot of good options out there for you. There's the website, and it should also be able for you to click on your program and go look at the tuition. For PA, there's 3 separate clicks because they start in the summer. That's kind of like what they first quarter or whatever they call it, and then there's 2 years after to click on. So there's kind of 3 things to click on. For medical school, obviously 4, one for each year. Okay, it is virtual fair season. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. This is another great resource for all of you. On careerecho.com, I know of 3 coming up. PT, there's also a diversity fair for health programs, and there's also a special just a PA virtual fair. This is a great way, I believe it's free. Have you ever done one?
I don't know.
Okay, I think on your end, I believe it's free. We have signed up for all 4 of these, and then dental is separate through ADIA. That's the organization for dental education, I believe, in the country. So anyway, you know, check it out and see if this is something you want to do. You're going to be in your living room, in your bedroom, at home on your computer, typing in questions and actually talking to folks like myself that have the program that you signed up for. Diversity will be all programs, so anybody that logs onto that, we're going to be there. I believe it's from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pretty sure we're going to cover that whole thing. And it's just typing away and reading what the counselor or the directors are saying about the program. So you really literally ask anything you want. So it's a really great way to talk to another school in another part of the country without calling them. So, okay. And this is us. When you come to an interview, make sure you know why you want to attend AT Still University. Do research. What's the mission statement of AT Still, or any school for that matter? Make sure you're doing your homework before you come for an interview. So hopefully you get an interview invite. That's our goal. Not only at our school, but other schools as well. You do want to weigh your options and choose where you'd like to go. There's our basic information on top there, and then my email and phone number there at the bottom. Hopefully you can see that. If not, get a hold of Chelsea and she'll give you my information. Okay, we actually took that photo today, which is very funny. We had to do the, yeah, the same pose on.
Oh, yeah.
We had to do this for something else. If you're on our social media following us, that's probably going to pop up on there. Okay, any questions?
For the military, can you briefly touch on that?
Can I what?
Briefly touch on it?
I'm not financial aid, I don't want to. However, there is, the best thing to do is call them.
Okay.
There's so many different programs. You don't necessarily have to join, I think, the military first. You can join after, or there's different types of programs within the different branches of the military, I believe. So, yeah. Anything else? Oh, you know what? I do want to open up the floor for Tiffany. So this will be PA only, everybody. So do you have any questions?
Not that I can think of, because you answered them, because I was gonna ask how many shadow hours, like, would you suggest having, but you answered that with the presentation.
I can kind of just walk through my experience.
Sure, yeah.
Not so much for specifically PA, but in general, when you're applying, kind of like Tina said, I know for PA, our CASPA application opens in April. It is a very big application, so I would recommend not waiting and try to do it all in one day, because it becomes very overwhelming. You're trying to find a lot of information, you're trying to get your all your hours in order, you're trying to find people that are going to write letters of recommendation for you, or find their information to get it all on there. Just doing it all in one go can become very overwhelming, and you can kind of cut yourself short, because by the end of it you're so tired that you might not be taking the time that you should to really fill out the application to kind of present yourself the best. So my recommendation for that is to open it when it starts and just do little sections, or even if you're not at that point, kind of like Tina had mentioned, start now, keep track of your hours, so when it does come time to fill out the applications, I know my first time I didn't keep track of that. It was very hard trying to backtrack and figure out what I had done, how many hours, and it took a lot of time just to do that. Whereas if I had kind of kept a running total, I would have been done in 5 minutes. So keeping track of your hours, who you volunteered with, contact information. Like Tina mentioned, if you have someone that you want to write you a letter of recommendation, keep them in the loop, let them know that you want them to write it, so it's not something that you spring on them, like I need this letter by next week. Because again, same thing for them, they might not have a lot of time to put a lot of effort into it if you give them a short time frame. But if you give them a month or two, they can take their time and really write you a strong recommendation letter. What else? CASPA, it's a tough one, so don't, and our school is a rolling admission, that's not changing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Very, very important, especially PA. Medical, not so much. Like I said, it opens April 26th, pretty much every year. It opens the end of April. I don't know when you guys are applying, you're a few years out. Applying early is half the battle. Of course, having the GPA and MCAT and all of that is important too. But rolling admissions means, we take them in date order as complete and we start offering interviews to the folks that applied early and getting those people into the interview days. And we have only a certain amount of interview days already set up front before CASPA even opens. We know what days we're going to interview and how many we're going to bring in on each day. So we only have a certain amount of time slots. And as we're offering interviews, those time slots are getting taken. That's how all of our programs work. And so all of our programs are rolling admissions. So you do need to apply somewhat early. CASPA, I can't stress it enough. PA, early, early, early. Like I said, you get on there, it's grueling. So get on there and have that good month. Be able to shut it down, come back the next day, have a breather, and then start filling out some more and keep doing that every day if you can. That way it's ready to go and submit by the first day you can submit. And then, yeah.
Something else you guys can do too, even if you're not at that point, but one of the hardest things I struggle with is writing your statement. You think it's easy to kind of talk about yourself, but you're trying to balance between, you don't want to brag, but you want to include the things that you've done and the things that set you apart. And for me, that was really hard. Like I had a really hard time trying to find that balance of what I thought was okay and it wasn't too much one way or the other. So if you guys have time and you want to start working on little things like that now and just save it as you go, it's just going to make the application process so much easier. Another thing, like Tina had mentioned, look at the other schools too, because the rolling admission, I didn't know my first, I applied 3 times for PA school, just to throw that out there, and I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. I didn't know that the first time I applied, so, and I think the first school you apply to is $175, and each school after that is $50 to $75 more, I can't really remember, but it gets expensive fast. And one of the schools I applied had a rolling application that I didn't pay attention to, and they had opened their application months ago, so at that point I'm just throwing away money because they'd already filled up all their interview spots. So that's something to pay attention to. It really makes a big difference, and yeah, you want to apply as early as you can to, like you said, get your seat in there, because I think based on the flyer you said for our school we have 70 seats and we had over 2,000 people apply. So even if you're like the top of the top, if you wait until November,
Yeah.
you're not, it's
Yeah.
full. There's no way you're gonna get an interview unless something.
We get phone calls all the time. When's your deadline? First thing I say is don't ever look at deadlines. You are way too late if you're looking at a deadline. You want to be applying when it opens. So I can't say that enough on all of our programs. They're all, even OT now, OT kind of was not very competitive. Even that's getting more competitive now. More OTs coming out, that want to be OTs, and we're excited. It's a growing profession. But still, for you guys, it's tough. So just do know that on any program, any graduate health program, I'm pretty sure, even the programs we don't have, nursing and optometry and all of that, they're probably the same.
Yeah, it's not impossible,
No.
but it's definitely you wanna
Yeah.
give yourself the best chance you can. You said you're a sophomore and you're a freshman?
Yeah.
So it sounds really cliche, but really do some soul searching now, because I know I went through all of undergrad thinking I was going to go to med school and that's what I wanted, and then come my senior year I had a change of heart. And that was really hard because I had kind of prepared one path and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. Not to say that there's a lot of people in our class who did take off a couple years in between school, which is fine. Something to consider though, which again I didn't consider at the time, is there's time limits. So for a lot of programs, you can only wait 5 years after taking anatomy and phys, or I think 7 is the very top, but there's a time frame from when you take the class to when you have to apply, and if it's the 5-year time frame, if you've now, it's been 5 years since you've taken it, you have to retake that class before you can apply. And so that's something, it's not a huge thing, like if you want to take a year off, it's not gonna make a big difference, but I had 4 years between starting PA school and finishing my undergrad. So had I not made it into this year, I would have had to start retaking classes because I would have ran out of my time frame. So again, if you want to take a year off, that's totally doable. There's more people in our class do that than go straight in, which is possible too. But just be aware of your time frames so you don't find yourself in a situation where you're having to start repeating classes. Because once you hit that, they're gonna come quickly because there's gonna be a lot of classes you'll have to start taking over.
Yeah, do look at the websites of other schools. Ours says recommended to be 5 years. There's other schools that it's required. I don't think any of our programs have any required limit. Like on PA, our prereqs say preferred to be within 5 years, and there's a good reason for it. We don't want to set you up for failure. And we've done research behind this that often students really forget all that material that was taken 8 years ago. Some apply that they're 10 years old, so call each admissions office, make sure, am I on the right track, am I doing the right thing?
So yeah, I finished my undergrad in 2013, and I have to think about this. I applied for PA school the following year, so 2014, but again, I waited very, very late. The application opens in April. I think I submitted my application in November. So I submitted just for one school because I knew I waited too long, but I didn't want to not try and see where that took me. And the first year I got put on a waiting list. So then the second year, unfortunately, because I like to procrastinate, I kind of did the same thing. I waited way too long. I didn't get the hours that I needed to. And I got an interview the second year, but then I was put on the waiting list again. So by the time the third year came around, again, that's when I kind of started to realize, like, if I don't get in this time, I'm going to have to start redoing these classes. So the third year I came around and I applied more aggressively. I applied to 5 different schools. I got interviews at 3, and then I chose ATSU. But again, because they have the rolling admission, I interviewed in December, and I believe by the time I interviewed, we had already filled the class. But they interview because it's a very fluid thing. There's a lot of people that will accept positions and then will either drop out or will take somewhere else, and vice versa. So it changes a lot. So I was actually pulled from the waiting list 4 weeks before the first day of class. So and there was a student after me, she got pulled the week before. So it can happen, and it's hectic but exciting and fun, but you just have to kind of keep your options open. And then as far as applying, just don't, if you choose not to apply right after school, that's okay. If you choose to wait a couple times, if you don't get it in your first time, that's fine. There's a lot of people in our class that